Hello, seventh graders. Welcome back. Today we are talking about section 8.5, which is using intercept form. So we have talked about two different forms so far. Number one, we've talked about standard form, which is ax squared plus bx plus c. We have also talked about not intercept form. We've also talked about vertex form. Sorry, that's what it is. Vertex form is a times x minus h squared plus k. Now we're going to learn about a third form, this intercept form. Okay? Now what's happening here is you are just going to be given basically different factors, and yeah, it's just going to be kind of in more of a factored form. Now the reason it's called intercept form is because this P and Q is where your graph is going to be crossing the x-axis. So with standard form, that's this one. With vertex form, you were able to tell where your vertex was. That was H and K. Now with intercept form, you're going to be able to tell where your graph is crossing. So like this might be your Q value and this might be your P value. Okay? So, three different forms. All are really good forms. They show you different things. Yeah. First off, let's take a look at this core concept. Okay, so again, we have found a few different ways to find axis of symmetry. Just to kind of review again, with standard form, to find axis of symmetry, that was opposite B over 2A. With, oh my goodness. Yep, you're probably all thinking it. With vertex form, sorry, I will get it, I promise. With vertex form, you were just doing your H coordinate. But now, with intercept form, we've got a new little formula, and I should do this in blue. We've got a new little formula that we're going to be using. So for intercept form, you're going to be taking your P value and your Q value, you're going to add them together, and you're going to cut it in half. Okay, so that's your new axis of symmetry. That's how you figure it out. See right here, that tells you the x-intercepts are P and Q. All right. Basically, first thing we're going to do an example of graphing, and then you're going to find the domain and range. Okay, so first and foremost, let's find our axis of symmetry. Remember those steps I told you? Let's try and find the axis of symmetry. Okay, so let's use that formula. We're going to take the P value plus the Q value, cut it in half. Okay, now remember, we're looking at these two numbers here, and it's opposite of what we think. So if we just kind of look back, I didn't really talk much about the formula and the form that it's in, but look, these formulas have negatives in them. So if you, for some reason, like when you look at this, it's kind of the same way that we were talking about with vertex form, that it's opposite of what we think. Intercept form is the same way. Okay, so let's take our p-value. Our p-value is going to be -1. Our q value is going to be 5. We're going to take that, we're going to cut it in half. So 1 plus 5, that'll give us 4. Cut that in half again. So your axis of symmetry is just going to be at 2. Okay, so I'm going to throw my axis of symmetry in there. Next step is going to be, so we've got this x equals 2. We are basically just going to be taking that 2, and we are going to find what is f of 2, and why is this not turning red? There we go. So we're going to find f of 2. We're just going to take 2, we're going to plug it in for all of the x's that we see. So that's going to be 2 plus 1, and then we're going to have 2 minus 5. So now if I start simplifying, that's going to be 3, and this is going to be -3. So I'll turn into -9, the opposite of -9. So f of 2 is just going to turn out to be 9. So your new vertex is going to be at 2, 9. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so I'm going to plot that point. Now here's kind of the beauty of vertex or intercept form is that now we know exactly where our intercepts are. We've got intercepts at 1 or -1, I guess I should say. So I'm going to plot a point at -1, and then I've got an intercept at 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to plot that at 5. Now I'm able to go ahead. I'm just able to create my graph. Okay. Really very easy once you kind of get the hang of it. Last thing, they want to know what the domain and range are. Domain, again, is that all real numbers. Range is going to be y is less than or equal to 9. All right, let's take a look at the next example. So next example, this time, you guys, it's not factored for you. So that's kind of part of your job with this one. You got to take this and you have to factor it. So first thing, we notice we can take out a factor of 2. So then that's going to turn into x squared minus 4. And then hopefully you guys are getting so good at factoring that you notice this is a difference of squares. So I can take this even a step further. Remember, if it's a difference of squares, we have to have the exact same factor twice. The only way we can come up with 4 using the same number is using 2 and 2. And then we have to have opposing signs. All right. So now we get into the exact same process. Let's find the axis of symmetry. You're taking your p-value plus your q-value, dividing it by 2. P-value is -2. Q-value is 2. So that's going to turn into 0. So your axis of symmetry is just going to turn out to be 0. So your axis of symmetry is right there. Then next up, to find your other coordinate, you're going to take f of 0. So you're just going to take 2 multiplied by 0. Okay, well that whole thing is just going to turn into 0. So f of 0 is just going to turn into 8. So your vertex is going to be at 0, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then lastly, your intercepts, you're going to be at -2 for one of your intercepts and +2 for the other one. There's your graph. Again, they're asking for domain and range. Domain, once again, is all real numbers. Range, so this top point right here. Oh my goodness. That's what you get for going too fast. Hopefully you guys have noticed what I've done. At this point right here, should be at -8. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm trying to beat this weather here so that I can head home. So that should be at -8. Okay, sorry. Domain is still all real numbers, but now your range is just going to be y is greater than or equal to -8. So those are the first 2 examples. I want you guys to try examples 1, 2, and 3 on your note packets. Okay, so you kind of have some similar directions here. They're just asking you to label all of the pieces. I know that I didn't on the last few, but just make sure that you're able to label them, find them, and then that's the same as the last example. Okay, one more. So I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to do the top 2 on the next page. And then this video is going to be done, so it's going to be rather quick. And I know I'm talking and going really fast, but like I said, I'm kind of trying to beat the weather here a little bit. Okay, so find the zeros of the function. You guys, we're basically, again, just doing the zero product property. We're taking f of x. We're trying to figure out when it's going to cross your x-axis. So when your y coordinate is 0. Remember how y and f of x are the exact same thing? We're just going to we're trying to figure out where this graph is crossing. So we're trying to find these 2 points here. So this, again, is kind of just a zero product property thing. You're going to take each of these, set them equal to 0, and solve. So subtract 2. You're going to have x equals -2. That's one of your zeros. Add 1. X equals 1. So those are your 2 zeros. Again, super self-explanatory. It goes really quick. Okay, so I'll give you just a second. You guys, if you need to, pause the video whenever necessary so that you can get caught up with me. But like I said, I'm going to kind of keep moving here. Okay, now, factors and zeros. So you can see this core concept right at the bottom of your sheet there. For any factor that's in the form of x minus n, n is a 0 of the function, okay? So this is basically saying if we have x minus n, if we set that equal to 0, your 0 is just going to be n. Like n is just your factor, okay? That's all this is really saying. Okay, so I will do A and B with you guys, and then you will be expected to do 4, 5, and 6 on your own. So again, we're basically just trying to take this, we're trying to factor it down as much as possible. So first thing, I'm going to plug a 0 in here because we're trying to find these zeros. And then I'm going to start by taking out a -2. You've got a common factor of -2. Let's take that out. So that's going to be x squared. That's going to turn into a positive 5x. This is going to turn into a positive 6. So now we're able to take that and we're able to factor it even further. What are your factors of 6? When you add them together, will give you 5. Hopefully you're able to come up with 2 and 3 here, and they're both positive because you have 2 positive signs there. Okay, now it's just a matter of taking each of these pieces, again, setting them equal to 0. And solving. Again, we've kind of talked about this just lightly when we were working on our factoring unit. 0 equals -2, that doesn't work. That's not a thing. So we're just going to cross that out because that technically isn't a solution of ours because that's not even a true statement. So I'm just going to keep solving these quick one-step equations. And those are our 2 zeros. We've got -2 and -3 as our 2 zeros. Last example that I'll do with you guys on this video, I'm going to do letter B. Take a look at it. Try and figure out, is this in the most simple form that it can be? Hopefully you guys are looking at this x squared minus 16 and you're saying, ooh, I can take that and I can factor it down a little bit further. Again, this is another one of those perfect square things. Okay, so I'm going to take that x squared, I'm going to break it down into x and x. How can I get 16 using the exact same number? That's going to be 4 and 4. I don't have a middle term here, so I got to get rid of that middle term there. +4, -4. Take x minus 1, set it equal to 0. Take x plus 4, set it equal to 0. Take x minus 4 and set it equal to 0 and solve. You get 1. You get -4. And you get +4. All right, so I am done. You should have through examples 6 all completed by the time I see you next. All right, we'll see you guys soon. Have a great night.